Hello, and the topic of the day is hands and decisions that maybe we're right about and maybe we're wrong about. Okay, so this is my right hand. Not such a good hand. Doesn't have much movements, quite deformed. When I was injured, it was really in a terrible shape. I wrote about this at length. There was a day in which they held me down and they took a knife and they basically cut along my hand all the way from here to the elbow, multiple cuts just with a knife. They couldn't put me to sleep because I was not in a good state, and they just cut to get the liquids out. And then they cut along each finger and on each side. It was terrible. They told me it wouldn't hurt at all, but it was awful. It wasn't fully alive. It was very badly burned, but there was still enough nerves to make it awful. I remember they said on the hand in the beginning, they said, count down to 10, we'll finish it. And I counted, didn't finish. It was terrible. I tried to count slowly, like backward, 10, 9, and then I got to 0 and I kind of shouted and I thought it would be over, but no, they had more to do, and then they had to do the fingers. Anyway, awful memories. Probably one of the toughest scenario of unbelievable pain I had. I had lots of pain, but that one was like a concentrated awfulness. Poof, comes back to me from time to time. Okay, anyway, so my hand was in a bad state, and what they offered me a few weeks later was to cut it down. They said, look, this hand would never be good. By the way, this is the only movement I have. It's tough to write. It's tough to, I don't have much mobility. It's not very functional. At the time, they said, you know what, the hook would be much more functional. You can't do much with this hand. You have a little bit of this. Why don't we just cut it here and we'll give you a hook and you'll be more functional. And I looked into it, and they were correct. A hook would be more functional. A hook you can catch more. And now, of course, with the new artificial limbs, with new prosthesis, they are doing amazing stuff. But even then, even a standard hook was more functional. But I couldn't give it up. At the time, I didn't know what would happen to the hand exactly. I knew it wasn't going to be good. They knew it wasn't going to be good, but how bad would it be and how much pain I would have and so on. And I said no. And then I kept on investing and investing more in this hand. It had so many surgeries. And as time went by, it became less and less sensible to cut it off. But the reality is that if I did make the decision early on to chop it off, I would have had tremendously less pain. Now, 70% of my pain comes from my hand. Over such a long time, every day, maybe it could have been gone. After a few months, they said, why don't you just take this little pinky and take it off, and then we could use the tendons to fix this finger, these two fingers. I said, how would I drink tea? No, I didn't want that as well. So I had these two decision junction: cutting my hand, yes or no; cutting the little pinky, yes or no. Both of them I decided not to. In retrospect, probably a mistake. I'm not sure it's 100% of a mistake because I don't know what exactly would have happened. But keeping this hand came with lots of costs. And at the time, I didn't think 10, 20, 30 years into the future. I didn't think about daily pain. I assumed the pain would go away. I didn't know how many surgeries would come. And after every surgery, I've invested more in this hand, and it was harder to make that decision. So if I knew now, if I knew then what I know now, I'm almost sure, not perfectly sure, but I'm almost sure I would have made a different decision. But the way it happened was, it's such a tough decision. Like, imagine just the choice. Oh, cut it off. This is it. There's no way to regret it. If you keep it, it feels like you can always change your mind, even though I did not. And then, so you say, okay, what do I do? Do I chop it off, or do I try to keep it? And then the more you try to keep it, the more you want to keep it, and then it goes on. Maybe it's a story of the sunk cost fallacy. The more you invest in a limb that is not very functioning, the more you want to keep it. But I think it's not just about that. I think it's about underestimating the long-term effects over time. What is the effect of daily pain on us? So anyway, the more I talk about it, the more I think, yes, if we would go back, I'm not sure I would have done it, but it would have been the right decision. Okay, I'll mark that. One big mistake in the decision junction. The pinky, I'm not so sure, but the hand, I think, was a mistake. Okay, thanks for listening, and to better decisions that take into account long-term effects and are not afraid to cut things off when things are not working well for us, metaphorically and not. Bye for now.